So African gods don't kill drug dealers, slave traffickers, or Europeans, but they kill physicists capable of building a space program. And we're supposed to welcome it back uncritically? Is this an L and a pass? So this wasn't supposed to be the next topic, but I switched it up because I figured it could be a decent topic to finish off with tonight. This takes us to Twitter. On Twitter, is this the right? Hold on a second. I'm trying to remember if this is the right. Actually, no, this can't be the right one. Hold on a second. I got to copy the proper link because the link is actually a picture. It's not an actual link. Sorry about this. Just have to go back into Discord. You guys, if you're not on Discord, join the Discord. Link is at the top of the chat. Join the Discord, navigate to Shoot the Breeze topics, and you could post your topics as well. So this takes us to this image that says, however, stories abound of people who studied physics while still tied to the apron string of the deities. A good example is the story of the Nakwa people, an Igbo community in modern-day Anambra state of Nigeria. They came to the understanding that the sun and the moon have enormous energy, which could be tapped for human use. This was some centuries before Western science began to study the solar energy. They wanted to generate electric current from the moon and the sun. The sun was a positive force and the moon the negative. They had theorized that to generate electric power, or oku enu, as they call it, which would shine and be of other uses in both day and night, the energies of the sun and the moon would have to be tapped. These people also believe that the moon is a planet and that life can survive on it. They develop apparatuses for studying the distance of the moon from the earth. Thus, before Western science thought of going to the moon and the outer space, Nakwa people had reached this understanding some centuries earlier. However, in one of the experiments at understanding the possible distance of the moon from the earth, the deity of the people had roared and deafened everyone present. That night, as report has it, it was only one out of the 12 astronauts that came down from the top of the Iroko tree. The rest were never seen. The terror of that night persuaded these Africans to abandon research in this direction for fear of incurring further the wrath of their deity. Had they gone ahead, Africa might have been the first to put man on the space, invent solar energy and the likes as far back as the 17th century AD, when people in Europe were still using oil lamps, riding on horsebacks, and occupied with the Reformation. That's that. This is from that book. The title is escaping me now. Trigger Happy would know it. He posted it, and Oni did a reading. I don't know how far Oni got with the reading, but Oni did a reading from the book. And I began reading the book too, and something in the preface of the book had me pondering shit for hours. I'll say that. Maybe I'll share it later, but I'll say that, we did have our own scientific understanding, our own thinking and way of seeing things. And if you allow yourself to decolonize your mind and you take in some of that information of the way we saw things, you'll realize that we were a very interesting people compared to this European. We were a very interesting people, and we had a way of looking at some things that shows that we understood. We tried to put knowledge and understanding first, and then we put value on things. The European does it the opposite way. He puts value on things first. But when you see it, when you allow yourself to break away from what they taught you, is really a beautiful thing. I'll end it there for now, and I might return and tell you what was the example. But look into that stuff. Look into that book. Trigger, repost the book if you don't mind, if you haven't already. But look into that. Look into that book. With that said, Azuli, what say you to what I just read?
I really don't understand it, to be honest. So they're saying, I don't know if we're looking at this. Maybe that whole thing is again going against African um spirituality. So African guys don't kill drug dealers, slave traffickers, or European, but they kill people of doing building space. Who else? Who gets to verify this? How do we know this is true? What they said. So I don't. This is somebody else did not make up my mind.
Well, this was said from the author who comes from the people with this cosmology, if you will. So
But
this is his ancestors' stories
the
being passed
Dogon
down.
people, the Dogon people, like that, those type of people.
I think it's the Nakwa people he mentioned.
Well, again, if we were capable of doing that and we didn't, then based on some superstition, I mean, then that's crazy too. Then like we had a conversation before Google. Maybe somebody brought us the book and we rejected it. I don't know. If they saying, and what's the name of the book? Because I've never heard of this. This is just amazing to me. But I don't know. I'll pass on this one. I'm just making my mind with it as I'm hearing you talk about it, bro.
Yeah, if you guys look in the chat, Trigger Happy posted the Google Drive link. That may or may not be the one only posted last week, but that's where I got the physical book because I was about to buy it. When Trigger mentioned, I said, let me jump on line and purchase it. We only presented the link. So if you guys wanted, click that link in the chat and you could get the book. That still doesn't tell us the name of the book. I can't remember the name. While the next speaker is speaking, I guess I'll look it up. But Black Steel, what say you next?
It's called Introducing African Science, I think. I just clicked on it. So.
All right. So what I think about this is that the question is um, African guys don't kill drug dealers, say traffic Europeans, but European guys don't do that either. Allah has never killed anyone outside of the Quran. Yahweh hasn't killed anyone outside of the Bible. It's only the believers who do the killing. But it's the belief in these gods that shape your ideology. So what it is that understand that these gods, like I said, European gods aren't out here killing people. Do you think it was the Europeans? You think it was Jesus that was threatening to kill Galileo for telling the truth about the earth revolves around the sun? No, that would have been the Inquisition would have pulled his tongue out. So imagine if, okay, you got this scientific discovery, what you're going to sit back and let God punish you. It's not going to happen. Yahweh's not going to punish him. Allah's not going to punish. It's always the believers, but it's a belief in these gods and these deities and this religion that shapes your ideology. So again, I don't think any African gods are not going to be the ones killing anybody for doing anything. Just like Jesus didn't kill anybody. You never see Jesus do his own dirty work. It's always these people who believe in him. It's always the Christians that are out here killing the people, not Jesus himself. But so yeah, I as far as the prompt, that I don't believe that African gods are doing that. I believe that it's the religion that shapes the ideology of a people. And I'll leave it there. Thank you,
Yes, sir. Thank you, Black Steel. I guess I'll try to fill in a little bit here. like I said last week about the Israelis, someone on Twitter posted Israelis aren't winning because of their God. They're winning because of their whiteness. And it reactivated a thought I've had for a long time based on an observation I've had. I've watched these Israeli people. Some of these people, they're just white people anyway, right? And some of these people, you wouldn't even know they're Israeli until something comes up and they got to go by a synagogue. Then they slap this little hat on. They then literally slap. They don't care if that shit on the side, to the back, tilted to the front. They slap that shit on and go up in the synagogue and do whatever you're supposed to do while you're in there. They don't really care about that shit. They don't really care about it. They don't really take it seriously. But they talk about it and they do it because their ancestors did it. They came to the understanding, I believe, that it makes more sense for me to talk about what my ancestors talked about than to sit up here and talk about some shit someone else's ancestors talked about, right? Black Seal's going to drop off because, he's been sick up here. We appreciate him for coming through. And so that made me realize, you know what? It makes more sense for me to talk about what my ancestors talk about than to knock it. Whether I fully embrace it or not, it just makes sense. I talk about that stuff. I was going to say shit, but it makes sense I talk about that stuff than someone else's ancestors' shit. Why am I talking about some Palestinian religious, spiritual history, what their ancestors talk about? So on that merit, I get this thing. Does that mean, though, that it's all correct? That it's all above reproach or above critique? Doesn't mean that. And we should be open to critique of the things that we did that did work versus the things that didn't work. It's all right. It's now if you want to argue that maybe it's not okay at this present time and moment because you're trying to get people to return to this concept of being African, I could sit down and shoot the breeze on you with that one. I could actually sit down and shoot the breeze. If you're saying that right now we're trying to get people to buy in, we don't have the space to knock this stuff publicly, I might could sit down and have conversations with you about that one. I could see that. But some of this stuff has to be criticized. Y'all let lightning, a natural phenomenon, just scare y'all off from what could have been. No, you could get criticized for that. We can't let that happen again. We can't let natural phenomenon, because it rained and our knee hurt just before it rained. We can't just stop us because of rain. Right? Let's not let that happen again. And I'll leave my critique of it there. But this stuff has to have some critique. Maybe we're not in that place yet. If we still trying to get people to buy in to the ideology. Now, with that said, I'll leave it to Buana, and if Razuli wants to come back and comment, let me know.
No, Trigger Happy has done something that's good. He's given us, well, because I know he's very critical of some of my arguments when it comes to agnosticism, but he's at least given me some homework. He saw us up. But giving me some material that I can peruse through and read and try to see if I understand the arguments on a scientific level, on a natural level, in terms of African science and things of that nature. I will give it a fair hearing, and I'll be objective. I ain't gonna be subjective about the whole what I read. Since he gave me some actual information to follow through, to follow up, I will read these documents that he suggested and hear what the arguments are. And I'm not going to conclude until I actually read to the sources that he would have given me. And I'll be fair in terms of what I understand from it. So I would just leave that argument there since the time is short.
Oh, I wasn't expecting Buana to stop there. Buana, I'll say this. In the preface of that book, there's it's an interesting little thing, but you have to disassociate disassociate yourself from what you've learned from the colonizer to really get it. Basically, it's a simple arithmetic thing from an African perspective. If I have so so when the Africans had two yams, they understood it was two yams, right? Uh, they also understood if Buana brings another two yams, that it's four yams. But the difference in our understanding is that we don't put the value on first. We put the knowledge and understanding on first. The Europeans put the value on it first and say, well, it's two yams plus two yams, so it's four yams, right? We understand that it's four yams, but we understand it after you give it its knowledge first, after you let us know it's yams. So what I mean is this. In the African way of thinking, they understood that there could be two somethings and two nothings. 2 plus 2 doesn't always equal 4. If you had two somethings and two nothings, you don't get four of anything, right? They understand that there could be two somethings and two nothings. So for the yam example, if I have two yams and you bring two completely rotten yams, do I still have four yams? No, I still
No,
only have.
no. That's what Koku. That's what I'm trying to get around right now in my mind. When you say 2 plus 2 don't equal four, don't always equal 4, that's stand out. Because I said, well, why wouldn't that equal 4? He said because the other two yams may not have no value in it because they may be rotten. See, that's the kind of thinking that you have to take. You have to take me through the process through on almost on a elementary level because what I've been taught is 2 plus 2 always equal 4. But you give me a reason why that's not always the case. So you know what I mean? So that's the process that I need to understand a little bit better, and that's what I'm working through.
Yeah, I appreciate you allowing me to tell that little anecdote. But that thing had me pondering shit for a couple of hours. We understood that two things and two things can be four things, right? But we understand that 2 plus 2 don't always equal 4. See, the European created a reality that's reproducible. That's the thing we have to understand about their science. Everything is reproducible because everything has this value to it. 2 has a value that's intrinsic. It's different than 4. It's different than 6. But we understood that it's not about the value first. We have to understand the shit first. Then we could add value. That's an interesting way to look at life. We had a very interesting way of looking at life. You know? Yeah. So in the chat, Trigapi said he's fine with critique as long as the critique makes sense and comes from a good faith position. One of my critiques with African spirituality is at times we are too open. He says bitter medicine, that analogy is very important. You know, Africans understood their mode of production or economy. Like the catering of a customer in the market was very important. Yeah, that's a thing. So I hope that when Buana and others, maybe Black Steel would do so as well. People have been asking me about bringing back the book club. Hopefully we can have a discussion on that book maybe in the future, right? So you guys let me know if that's something you're interested in. Black Steel had to drop off because he's not feeling well. We know Bakari was here and left earlier. That's the show for tonight. But first, let me get a shout out, and I'm gonna do a little different this week. I'm gonna ask you guys to shout out something you think was a positive in the Black world this past week. Let me start with Azulius.
Positive. I don't know. I didn't see anything positive. Not to say please nothing positive happened, but I don't. Okay. No, there's something positive. It was on a local level. somebody sent me a video of one guy protesting against the Dominican products, telling people not to buy there. It was like in Newkirk in Brooklyn. And he was all by himself. And he had a little thing and say, "Yo, don't buy Dominican product because they are destroying Haiti and the people of Haiti." I guess that's a positive thing. He was by himself and he was doing it. So that was a positive thing I saw. And I see there's another positive thing I saw. Where I was working at, I see a lot of black students like studying, doing their work, even and like actively pursuing their careers and their goals. And sometimes I look at it, I say, damn, I wish I was like that when I was younger in their age. So that's another positive thing.
Appreciate that. In the chat, Trigger Happy said a positive thing. Burkina Faso and Mali signed deals with Russia on nuclear plants. Nuclear power can be a reality. So I appreciate that from you. If there's anyone else in the chat who wants to post a positive thing they want to shout out, do so now while Buana speaks. Buana.
Yeah, that is true. Burkina Faso and Mali did sign it. That is a positive thing in terms of the black world, in terms of energy. And we want to believe that will successfully be able to come off. One of the positive things about this particular show that night, what I appreciate is two black men was able to hash out their differences, and it didn't involve in a cuss out match with one another. They could have keep it respectable, you know what I mean? And I think that there's a teachable experience from listening to not only two grown men, a bunch of different grown men come into the panel with different perspectives and still been able to talk as men and hash out their differences and then not devolve into a cuss out match. So I respect the brothers for keeping it mannerly and for keeping it respectable. I respect that, and I think that's what a positive takeaway in terms of this listening to the show tonight. But I'll leave it there, and I respect to the brothers, and the all brothers have a good week. One, two, 1, 2. I guess Koku is not able.
Sorry about that. My mic was thing. Sorry about that. Yeah, I was shouting out that thanks to all of you who were in the chat and made the show lively. Sorry about the mishap with the microphone. Thanks to Buana. Thanks to Azuliism. I guess the positive for me this week is that we had a good conversation once again. The positive for me this week personally was that same little arithmetic problem that I gave you guys. That was a positive for me this week. We'll be back next week. Shout out to all of you who are in the chat. You might see me during the week, during the interview. We'll see. Until next time, though, you guys be good. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the Bitter Medicine Podcast with your host, Koku. If you like what you just heard, we hope you pass along our web address, bittermedicineblogs.com, to your friends and colleagues, and share our show to all your social media. Be sure to check out our archive section on our website for previous podcasts. This has been a KWAZ radio production. Join us next time for another session of the Bitter Medicine Podcast. Follow us on Facebook at Bitter Medicine Show, Twitter, Bitter Meds, Tumblr, Bitter Meds, Instagram, Bitter Medicine.